You see the last part. This question we just cover what is voluntary, involuntary stakeholder. We assess stakeholder. Some more we talk about agency between company and profit-based organization. Then the trade union. Okay, then the last part is a bit about arguing risk assessment. With environmental footprint on the evaluation part. Okay, but it's not so obvious one. So that one you must read the question, then you understand what to do. Okay, we're going to see the question from December 07. Page 14. Okay. Now this is the early days question. That's why case also not so long. Notice. All right. Now part A. Examiner want you to define transparency. So this is the underpinning concept that you learn. There's quite a lot of word, right? Okay. And then evaluate why is this important for corporate governance, and how is this important in relevant and reliable financial reporting. And then you should refer to the case whenever you can. So part A. Now part B is something we learned the last class about Kohlberg also. Examiner asks you to explain Kohlberg 3 levels of moral development. We refer to level. Got 3 levels. Which level again? Hả? Nè. Để講到我聽，講多先。Hey, hello, I didn't hear lah. What's the first level? Huh? Maxim 1, Maxim. Oh no, that one is not. You mix up already. That one is Kantian ethic. This is level 1, 2, 3 one. Pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional. Okay. Now, so that's a 3 level. So we're asking level, not stages. So you just talk about pre-conventional, post-conventional. Then you ask to identify which level of the moral development that is being demonstrated by Gary, Vanda, and Martin. So you must say, oh, Gary is level 1, Vanda is level 1. Okay. Now, critically discuss the 4 roles of non-executive director and explain the tension between these roles. So tension is like conflict. The tension is the conflict that WM and NEDs may experience in advising the disclosure of overestimation of the Malorite reserve, and draft a letter to Tim Blake to WM's investors to include why you believe robust control is important. So this is more to a theory. Why do you think control is important? And propose how internal control system can be improved in the overestimation of Malorite in VM. And again, you got 4 marks of professional marks. Okay, we read the case. Alright, now they say that the board of Worldwide Minerals was meeting for last monthly meeting before the publication of the year-end results. And there were 2 points of discussion on the agenda. First was the discussion of the year-end result. Second was the crucial latest minerals reserve report. WM is a large listed multinationals company that deals with natural minerals that are extracted from ground, processed and sold to a wide range of industrial and construction companies. In order to maintain a consistent supply of minerals into its principal market, the essential part of the strategy is to seeking out new sources and the measurement of known reserve. Investment analysts have often pointed out that WM value rests principally upon accuracy of the reserve report, as these are the best indicator of their future cash flow and earnings. In order to support this key part of the strategy, WM has a large and well-funded geological survey department, which according to the company's website, it has some of the world's best geologists and mineral scientists. In its investors' relation literature, the company claimed that our experts search the earth for mineral reserve, and once located, they are carefully measured so that the company can always report on known reserve. This knowledge underpins market confidence and keep our customers supplied with the inventory they need. You can trust our reserve report. Our reputation depends on it. So that is what they claim. Okay. Now at a board meeting, the head of the Geological Survey Department, Ranjana Taylor, reported that there was a problem with the latest report because one of the major reserve figures had recently found to be wrong. The mineral in question, the malachite, was WM's largest mineral in volume terms, and Ranjana explained the malachite reserve in a deep mine in a certain part of the world had been significantly overestimated. She explained that based on the interim minerals report, the stock market analysts were expecting WM to announce a known malachite reserve of 4.8 billion tonnes, but the actual figure was closer to 2.4 billion tonnes. It was agreed that this difference was sufficient to affect their market value, despite the good results for the past year. So Vanda Monroe, the finance director, said, the share price reflects market confidence in the future earnings. She said that an announcement of an incorrect estimation like that would cause a reduction in the share value. More importantly for VM itself, however, it will undermine confidence in the Geological Survey Department. All agreed that this was strategically important for the company, so it was a top priority for them to deal with the problem. Ranjana explained how the situation had arisen. The major malachite was in a country new to VM's operation. Okay. Just now was a mistake. Oh, I read wrong. Okay. WM's operation. The WM's engineer at the mine said it was difficult to deal with some of the local people because according to the engineer, they didn't like to give us bad news. The engineer explained that when the mine was found to be smaller than originally thought, he was not told until it was too late to reduce the price paid for the mine. This was embarrassing, and it was agreed that it would affect market confidence if it was made public. Now the board discussed the option open to it. The chairman, who is a qualified accountant, was Tim Blake. He began expressing serious concern about the overestimation, and he then invited the board to express view. Gary Howell, the operation director, said, because disclosing the error to the market would be so damaging, it might be best to keep it as a secret and hope that the new reserve can be found in the near future that will make up for the shortfall. He said it was unlikely that this consummation would be found out as shareholder trusted WM, and they had many years of good investors' relation to draw on. Now, Vanda Monroe, the finance director, reminded that the board was bound to certain standards of truthfulness and transparency by its stock market listing. She pointed out that they were constrained by the Code of Code of Governance and Ethics by the stock market, and colleagues should be aware that WM will be in technical breach if the incorrect estimation was concealed from the investor. Finally, Martin, the Human Resource Director, said the error should be disclosed to investor because he would not want to be deceived if he were an outside investor of the company. He argued whatever the governance code said and whatever the cost in terms of reputation and market value, WM should admit its error and cope with whatever consequences arose. The board contained 3 non-executives. The views were also invited. At the preliminary results presentation sometime later, one analyst, Christina, who became aware of the Malorite problem, asked about internal control, internal audit and control, whether they were adequate in reserve-sensitive industry. The chairman, Tim Blake, said he intended to write a letter to all investors and analysts in the light of the problem, which he hoped would address some issue Ms. Gonzalez had raised. Now, so before we answer the rest of the question, just look at this part. Now, 3 persons said something. First is Gary. Gary said that we should just keep this as a secret. Okay? Because it would be so damaging. Vanda said that you're bound to a certain standard. And then Martin said that he would not want to be deceived. So you tell me, these 3 persons, which level they are in? Gary? Gary is in level 1, 2 or 3? Level 1. Yes, very good. Level 1. Okay, level 1. Now, why level 1? Because you think of yourself. Okay, you think of yourself. Now, but when you think of yourself, you're thinking of what? Now, he might be thinking of, now I don't know which stage to be exact, okay, but he did mention that it can be very damaging. So he's seeing this as some kind of punishment. That this is something that while we do, then people will not be happy, then we will be affected. So anyway, it doesn't matter. They just ask you the level. They are not asking the stage. So he's very clear, level 1. Vanda, level 2. Because she mentioned about standard, the law. So this is level 2, stage number 4. You must follow the norms of the law and the regulation. Live up to the expectation of the law. And Martin Chan is in level 3. So why level 3? Because he uses the concept that Kantian mentioned, consistency. Whatever that you don't want people to do to you, you don't do to people. Correct or not? So this is the issue of consistency. So if you apply Kantian, means it's part of stage number 6. So it's level 3. Now, so 3 different persons with 3 thinking and 3 levels. So that part is quite easy. So after you explain the meaning of these 3 levels, you just got to tell me which level they are in and why. The 12 marks is yours. Now, you see here, this was how examiner tested. Okay? And examiner tested 2 times also like that one. Ask the name and the level. And then the question, see level what, level what, level what. Got 1, 2 and 3. So until one time, examiner tests again. Say examiner very smart. The student over smart. The student do the past year all got level 1, level 2, level 3. So whenever they do that one, the third question the examiner asks, examiner only put 2 levels in the question. I think got level 2, level 3, no level 1. But the student force themselves to put level 1 into the answer or to put level 2 because their mindset is, past year 每一个都有 level 1, 2, 3 的. So answer also must have 1, 2, 3. I see that's the problem with student. You study, go exam. You just want to follow what you learned in the past and you don't think. Just because in the past it's like that doesn't mean it's like that. No. So you must be careful. Okay? Now, so this one is part B. So I won't do with you. Okay? Done. Okay, so we start with part A. Now, if you have a question to do with underpinning concept, okay, if you have questions to do with underpinning concept, you got to explain the meaning with different words. So I start by defining transparency. So give word that can explain transparency. Yeah, openness. So you're going to use the word openness in your answer. Do not conceal material information. Okay, do not conceal material information. Now, the issue about being transparent, okay, being transparent, you got to understand that being transparent must take into account the degree of the openness, because it does not mean to reveal all information to all the user. So you must wait between the need of transparency as well as the principle or the shareholder interest, because end of the day you have a duty to protect investor. Now they ask you, why do you think that this is important to corporate governance and financial reporting? Now, this one will depend on how good you bluff your answer. Okay, so I mean, this is something that the better you are in, they say 吹水, you know how to blow, the better you can. Okay, now you just ask yourself very generally, why is transparency so important? Why must honesty so important in a relationship? Why if you have a boyfriend, girlfriend that is not honest, it will not work out, that it will fail? Why? Okay, so you can think along that point. Huh? So I think if I'm the student, I will go in and start with a question mark and tell my marker. Okay, so why is transparency important? Which means I'll ask back the marker to think, why is transparency important? Because it underlines your honesty. So this is like between a relationship between a lover. What will happen to a love story that if you have a partner who betrays you, who hides from you, it fails. And the same apply to a company. Yes, you know? Wow. So, but you probably will say that you will write like that, man. Of course. If you dare to write like that, your answer will be even more different, because you're just trying to convey a point. Yes, you know? This is the paper that you're looking at, that you can write like that one. Yes, you know? Now, so to me, transparency, it's about integrity. Okay? Transparency is about integrity. Because when you are hiding information, concealing information, you are not truthful. And your agency relationship will be affected. Now, how? See, in the corporate governance system, the principal has full trust and confidence for their agent. Okay? Now, this kind of trust is the trust that agent will protect them, will not lie to them. No, sorry. Okay, will not lie to them. Now, but the moment they realize that you are no longer transparent, okay? So if you are not transparent, then this market confidence can actually be destroyed. Okay, it will actually be destroyed. Now, and if you have this kind of confidence be destroyed, then you will be afraid. And you know, when you are afraid, you are stressful, the relationship is very difficult to go on. Either you every day go and check, so you look at, for example, every day your girlfriend call you, where are you? Open your 4G I want to see the video show around Now this kind of life will be very difficult, correct? Now either you have this kind of life that you every time monitor 24/7, or you change your partner, totally moiling, change a new guy, build back again the relationship. So all this is why that once you enter into that problem, it's going to affect a lot of things. Now then number two, they say, why is it also important for financial reporting? Now then I will bring in the story that when you do financial reporting, you will need to report the true and fair view. Okay, the true and fair view of what? Of the company's financial position, performance, and cash flow. Now, so this must have an accurate reporting of the past. So if you hide information that is material, then the financial statement will not be reliable. Agree? How to be reliable? You're not telling me the truth already. I can say, no profit, you say got profit. So that's the idea. Plus, the examiner say that the relevant and reliable financial reporting. I believe you studied the difference of the two before, right? What is the difference between being relevant and being reliable? Relevant is always for future one. Reliable is always for past one. If you study accounting, you must know this one, okay? So relevant is about the future. Reliable is about the past. So you also got to say that in the reporting, the board must always give an assessment of the company's prospect and potential. So again, if you conceal material information that affects its potential, then it will affect the relevance of the reporting. And eventually, the impact is what? It will always cause a wrong decision, and wrong decision will affect a loss of investment. Then you fail to protect your shareholder, which is the objective of the corporate governance. See, good, huh? Choice, correct, huh? Blow until the back, come back and tell you, nah. That's why corporate governance must be transparent. See, you must say like that. You make a turn back and link back to what they tell you. So every time you come back and link again, then your answer becomes complete. That's what you must do. Okay. Now, so they ask you to refer to the case where appropriate. So what is the ratio about the case that you must refer where appropriate? Now, the case is now whether you want to review the underestimation. This is the case. And we know that this is going to be an important information because it will affect the market value of WF. Okay? And we notice that because the impact is so critical, so it will be a need, or it will be something that we believe necessary for a disclosure to be made. That if you don't make this disclosure, we believe that you will affect the shareholders' perception about the company's value. Okay? Right, this is A. So I won't do B lah. Now, we look at C now. Okay? Okay. Now, there are two parts in here, the examiner's question. Now, one part is they say, what is the role of non-executive director? The other part is the tension in the role. Okay. So first part, when they ask you the role of non-executive director, this is theory. Okay? This is theory. So that's why this one not difficult. In fact, this one, because this is the first exam, the pilot paper came out role of NED. So normally first exam, examiner must give tips one. They follow the pilot paper. They also ask you role of NED. So student basically copy the question, put inside. Correct one. Okay. Now what are the role of NED? Now NED as the majority, because the chairman must also be NED. So with chairman and NED making more than half of the board, and they don't get involved inside the management, they are not involved in executive running of the business. So we see NED's role is quite for shareholders protection. So that's why normally the role are divided into four. There's 4 points that we use. Which 4? 4 keyword. People role, risk role, and then is SSPR, strategy role, and one more S is scrutinizing role. Okay? Now, the way how you think of the role, number one, strategy role is you think of a unitary board. What is a unitary board? ED and ED sit together. So if you sit together whenever we discuss about strategy, there are 2 things you can do. You can be a challenger. You can be a contributor. So challenger means you come and argue why you think the idea is not good. So you give a different perspective. Okay? You give a different perspective. And this different perspective is good sometimes. Why? Because you are not involved in the business. So we always say when people play chess, people who don't play will see better than people who play. Correct not? There's a word in Chinese called what? Hong Kun Zhe Qing. Correct not? Now this is the same idea. You are not the one running the business. You see better. So you probably can be a better challenger. You can tell us what we didn't foresee. Okay? So that's the challenging. Now not only that you can challenge, you may even have contribution that maybe you have different exposure. You're a part-time director, maybe you have a different experience, different background. So you come across an idea that we never think of. So you bring in the idea. Then we say, oh, that's a good idea. We try it out. Now you can contribute. That's called strategy. Now what is the scrutinizing part? Now scrutinizing is the one that rely on the NED is more than the ED. The power of NED that is more than the ED, so that we can be there to look after, to see, to check on you. That's why this is policing. Policing is not the policy, that one is police. Okay, policing rule. Examiner also use this word for policing. Okay, so it's to come and guard and check on you. So the job of checking on the ED. Okay? So when you check on the ED, you check ED against inappropriate action. You are here to minimize agency conflict. Okay? You are here to minimize agency conflict. So that is called scrutinizing role. Okay? Now then, people role and risk role link with what? Link with the committee that you are in. Now you see under NED, nomination, remuneration, audit. We have 3 different committees, right? Nomination committee, remuneration committee, audit committee. Now the last time we also discussed about the composition. Audit committee must be what? All independent, non-executive. So all also NED one. RC also all NED one. NC is majority NED. So isn't it to say that all the committee we say is mostly NED? So if they are mostly NED, that's the role of NED already. So the role of NED is discharged through the committee. So how do you discharge the role through committee? So that's why people role is about getting the right candidate to sit in the board. Okay, getting the right candidate to sit in the board, and then make sure that you have the right pay for the directors that is aligned with shareholders' interests. Make sure that you have succession planning. And AC is about financial reporting, internal control, audits, risk. It's all about all these things. And make sure that they are right. Make sure that they are right. So AC role is about how you report truthfully and how you always protect the investment of the shareholder. Okay, now, so I just discussed with you. So your answer must have these 4 keywords. You must touch on these 4 keywords, and every keyword you mention, you must link to all these words that we say. But how you express your point, it doesn't matter. because this is theory. Okay, this is theory, so you cannot be wrong one. You have your knowledge, your answer must be correct. Now, so now they want you to relate the tension in NED row with the case. So what is the tension that we see here? Actually, the tension that they are trying to say is the one that, if Chinese were one good saying, is called 左右为难. That is the tension that you see. That you don't know which side that you must act for. Now, you think and see. For the company, you're a director. You have your colleague. Correct enough? You must not let them down. Okay? For the shareholder, you got to be truthful. And at the same time, you also need to think of the long term of the shareholder. So you ask yourself, disclose or don't disclose? Disclose or don't disclose? It's just like your friend know you and also know your wife. At the same time, your friend know your problem, but also is your friend to your wife. Tell your wife your problem, like not good to you. Then don't tell your wife like not good to her. That's the tension that you can see, no? So this is the tension that we see, the NED role in the case. So which role that give rise to the tension? It's role about, you can say, scrutinizing or risk, because this one linked to transparency. Okay, now so I must link to the risk and scrutinizing role. Now, because NED has duty to protect the shareholders' interests, they need to ensure that the financial reporting is objective and is with integrity. So if you conceal the underestimation of this called Malorite, this is against the duty entrusted by the shareholder. Okay. However, the NED will also be part of a board. So they will be under pressure from the ED to make sure that the board interest is taken care. So if let's say they go against the ED, then the relationship will actually be affected. And number two, the NED may also consider between the long-term and short-term implication. Because if you disclose the matter, then in the short term, you may expect that there will be a lot of volatility to WM's share price and market confidence. So all that is what you say. So the idea about tension over here, so the tension is about you're unsure whether is it the best to disclose. That is the tension. Okay. Okay. Now the last part is D. Now the professional marks will include the format. You are writing a letter, and the letter must be to the shareholder from Team Blake. Okay, to the shareholder from Team Blake. Now, so all that is part of the 4 marks. Okay, so you must start. You must start with something. So when you start, you got to start with a story. You must give people that you regret about the incident of the underestimation. So when you write the letter, you must begin with a mood that you regretted. It's very unfortunate. It's something we don't want. Okay? So that is the way you must start. Understand? No? You must bring in the mood to let people feel it, that you regret about what happened. Follow now? Now, if not, you're not going to get professional mark. You cannot straight away start by saying that I write to you about the importance of internal control. If you do like that, you will not get full professional mark, because your answer is not professional. You don't bring in the idea. Okay? It's not practical. Now, so these things that you must have when you start the point. Okay? So now when you go into their answer, you must explain to them the importance of internal control. So why is internal control so important? Now, what can I use here to write an answer? Control is for what? Important must be for a reason. Control is important for what? So all internal control that we have is always important for a reason. So the role of internal control, or the objective of internal control, is what? What's the objective again? A stop, yes. You talk about A stop. That internal control, it's all meant for the same objective. It's about accuracy. It's about safeguard asset. It's about timely reporting. It's about orderly, efficient business conduct. It's about preventing fraud. Okay, preventing fraud and non-compliant. So when I write my answer, I will tell the shareholder that I do know the purpose of internal control. Okay, so you can probably start by telling them that an internal control system is vital to a company because of the objective that the internal control support. Now, a good internal control is to give us a reasonable assurance of the 5 things mentioned. Okay, so you can mention about the 5 things. So this is why we need internal control. And of course, from here, it brings on to the next objective already. So what if you give accurate reporting? So what you safeguard the asset? So end of the day, again, who do you protect? It's the shareholder also, man. So that's why from the objective that you say, you're going to tell them that eventually this internal control is important to protect the shareholder. Is to make sure that you get a reliable reporting so that you will support an accurate decision, so that the internal control will protect your investment, that it will not be exposed to unacceptable risks. Okay? And if you apply to the case, you would say that the situation of underestimation at WM is a good example of why we think that there's a failure in the internal control. And of course, we are aware of it, and we have undertaken measure to rectify and avoid it in the future. Now that's why if you look at the logical sequence of the question, examiner started by asking you why is it important, followed by can you tell me how to improve. Now why you want to tell them how to improve? Because you admit that our system failed. That's why we got a problem here. And when we got a problem here, that's why we need to do something. So what was the cause of the problem? What was the cause of the problem? See, the cause of the problem is, they say, each time when they go to the mine to do a check and so on, the engineer, they find that they didn't want to inform them the truth until later on when they release, then only they will tell them. So that shows that a lot of things are based on hearsay, no actual report, there was no testing. So you tell them about the cause, okay? So tell them about the cause. So maybe we have some suggestion. Okay, some suggestion. Like, you can do a due diligence before you acquire a new mine, to check everything nicely. Okay, to check everything nicely, that everything is proper, is correct before you buy. Okay. Now you may also insist that there must be a scientific test be conducted before a report can be released. Because right now, okay, right now, the problem is there is an evidence of like hearsay. You listen, then you just, oh, okay, then we put it up. So that's a problem. They say the local people are afraid, they are not happy, so they will tell you. Then after that, they will tell you the truth. So in that case, it shows to me that you are not based on something scientific, you know. Okay. Then, because it's something that has affected external people's confidence, it would be a good idea that I may have an external assessment, maybe by an independent geologist, instead of you listening to us. Because now we got a problem already. We lied to you once, so you're afraid. Okay, you're afraid. Or probably we didn't lie to you, but we made a mistake. So now I want to get back your confidence, right? Okay, I get people from outside. But we may not need to do it every year, maybe occasionally. Just like remember your performance evaluation. The directors of a big listed company, you must evaluate your performance. And then for those that under the big one, the FTSE 100, UK says what? Your evaluation must be externally facilitated. You must get someone from outside to come and look at your process. So this is to give us more assurance. Now that's it, okay? So you just gotta tell them that before we buy, we check nicely. So we get the geologist to check scientifically, then only we release the report, and I get someone from outside to attest. So this will make things better. Because here, you are not telling them the detail, You write to investor. So when you write to investor, you are not giving them an internal control manual. Like tell them, step 1 do this, step 2 do, no. That's too detailed already. That's not what we want. We want the system. The system that overall you give us the assurance that we feel safe. Understand? No? So this is what you must say here in the last part. Then of course you close off the letter. Okay? So then you sign off. Okay? Right, so that's the part to do with D. Now today we didn't learn much. We are just going through again what we covered the last week. So to finish off, because it's still under the same part. So we see more example, and more important is you see the requirement, how they ask, and why if you don't answer correctly, your answer is wrong. Okay? Right, so we end today's class here. Okay? So next class, we see about the structure, the insider, outsider, rules, and so on. Then we'll see a bit about Sarbanes-Oxley, OECD. Now this one, we don't have much question to show you. That's why all the questions you see here, I'm going to show you question 4. Okay? So the one that they also tested is just the first two. The last two also not very popular. Okay? Right. So I'll see you again next class. Next class is next Friday. Yeah, next Friday. Next. I can't remember. You check the timetable. Oh, I forgot also.